so good. Watch the way they hound this puck. Watch. Okay, they hounded it at their own defensive blue line. Watch Robertson with a Magic Johnson look away.
Pretty special. Be one of those people that kids can look up to, and they see, a player like me, and they're like, "Wow, I can do that." So it's pretty neat being a role model for everyone.
Welcome to Race in America on Washington Post Live. I'm Nicole Dungca, an investigative reporter at the Washington Post. And today our guest is the breakout star of the NHL season. Please welcome Dallas Wings left winger, Jason Robertson.
Hey. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. So this last Saturday, your team beat the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Congratulations, but even more, besides winning after scoring during that overtime shootout, you've now made 35 goals after 59 appearances. Can you give us a little more perspective on just how extraordinary that is? I mean, that's a really great showing. Can you talk a little bit about what the average score for a player would be in a season, and also how it felt knowing that you had basically made that many points this season?
Well, yeah, I mean, definitely it's not easy scoring the NHL. Obviously, it's the best league in hockey, but fortunate enough, I have a lot of players around me who are elite players and allow me to try to find places to score goals and trying to produce. And yeah, it's not an easy league, but definitely when you have a team as good as I have around me, makes it a little more easy. So it's definitely a privilege to be on the team here.
Yeah, and this has been such a breakout season. You're one of the top scorers. How has your game changed since you first started playing in the NHL, and how do you attribute that to your current success?
Yeah, well, I mean, definitely as a younger player in your first league in the NHL, you always have that little shyness, that little timidness, something that comes natural with every young guy. And then eventually you earn that confidence throughout each year you're in the NHL, and learning how the league works, how the players are, and how everything is operates. And then eventually you kind of click and find your stance and find your game. And for a player like me, it kind of took a little bit of time, maybe a year or two. But then once I hit my stride, I kind of that confidence and that swagger you have built inside of you kind of takes over. And like I said, being on a great team I am right now, it makes it easier for me.
And you recently appeared in your first NHL All-Star team as a member of the Central Division. You made it to the finals against the Atlantic Division. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience and what it was like?
Yeah, well, it was an awesome experience to be able to do that. I think the best part is representing not only the team but the state of Texas, as I like to say, Texas hockey. So it's pretty humbling to be that one representative coming to the event and being able to showcase what we do down here in Dallas and in Texas. So that's definitely humbling. But obviously, going there as a hockey fan and a hockey nerd growing up, seeing all the players and the talent that's there, it's something that you've always dreamed of when you were a little kid. And to eventually achieve that milestone in your career, it's definitely a big milestone. And I'm glad my family was there to take that in and enjoy the weekend with me.
Yeah, I'd love to go to your family and back to the beginning when you were growing up. Your father was a big hockey fan. I mean, is that where you got your love of the game?
Yeah, so my dad was born in Michigan, so it's a little more hockey based as opposed to California. But when we moved to California, my dad's dad was a big fan of the LA Kings, and eventually we had season tickets to the LA Kings down there. And I think it's just one of those things where you go and you keep going, you just fall in love with the game, and eventually want to get on the ice. And once that all clicked together, we kind of found in love for the game and continued on and pursued a hockey career.
And you've said your parents kind of set you on this path to success. Can you talk a little bit more about what they did to make sure that you could be where you are today?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of things are attributed to my parents. They laid definitely a lot of sacrifices, from moving from California to Detroit, from moving to Detroit to Toronto to live with me, to bring us to the rink, to keep me going, to keep pushing us to get to do what we want. I mean, at the end of the day, without their constant support, and they knew more than I did at one point what I wanted, and they were able to keep supporting me, encouraging me to continue playing hockey, to keep working hard. And eventually, when I was 15, 16, it kind of clicked in. This is it. But I'm so grateful for them to be able to not only make those sacrifices, but to continue to push us and really open our eyes to what we wanted to do. And it's just so awesome that I can only repay them by continuing to play at this level, loving what I do, and yeah, a lot of it is attributed to my parents.
And you grew up with your brother as well, who also is a professional player. What was that like having this family just completely, basically all over hockey, thinking about hockey all the time?
Yeah, so my little brother Nick, he's with the Toronto Maple Leafs. I also have an older brother Michael who played hockey until he was about 18. But Nick and I, we go way back because he kind of found that same path as I did, moving to Toronto to pursue hockey. And once my older brother stopped playing, we kind of knew it was just us two, really carrying that weight of making that NHL. And he's kind of always, I wouldn't say following my footsteps because he's had his own path, but definitely being 2 years older, I kind of learned a little more things quicker, and he kind of had that slight advantage of having an idea of what it's going to take, or what the process is. So we were able to build that bond and that connection together over these past, however many years. And like I said, it's not only great for me being able to repay my parents by being in the NHL, but to have two brothers in the NHL. I mean, it just goes to show like how much we put in, and how much our parents will put in. And to be able to have two kids in the NHL is, I'm sure, a dream for my mom and dad. And it's as much as we can do to repay them.
I'm sure they're so proud of you, and I'd love to ask a little bit more about your identity and being Filipino American. When you were drafted in 2017 by the Dallas Stars, you were only the second Filipino American to be playing in the league. And then, of course, your brother followed after that with the Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, what has this moment been like for your family from that perspective?
Well, it's kind of opened up a lot of eyes from my mom's side of the family, the Filipino side. Before that, they had kind of had a vague idea of what hockey was. They kind of didn't really know what it was. They'd come to some games, but it's funny now. Like the whole side of my mom's side, they watch every game, and they're so into it now. And they'll text me, and they'll text my mom, and they'll get together. And they didn't know anything about hockey. So what's incredible, the fact that my mom's side of the family, my Filipino side, was already close, but the fact that they have hockey now to watch us play, to bond and to talk about that, it just increased that level of how close they are. So that's fantastic, and I'm really glad that they can do that, and we have something to relate to. And sometimes they come down to Dallas and watch games. So definitely, it's a special thing in our family for sure.
You had mentioned the Los Angeles Kings before. When you last played them, actually, you were able to beat them, and it was during Filipino Heritage Night, in fact. I mean, so what was that like, that moment for you?
Yeah, so definitely it was a special time. Filipino night. I mean, I got the whole suite for that side of the family. 20, 25 people came. A lot of people
Wow.
on my family haven't really made a lot of games. A couple times LA, but like I said, it was a great opportunity for all of them to come together at once and to watch hockey and watch me play. And I was able to score that game too, so that was a neat moment, and definitely we were able to get the win too. So it was a great moment. Hopefully, I have plenty more nights like that in LA as my career goes along. But especially when they were able to be there and watch the game. And I remember coming after the game, on the concourse and seeing couple dozen people with Robertson jerseys. They're all waiting for me and cheering for me. It's good. It's kind of a moment you can't really explain how much that means to you, and not only to me, but my grandmother and my mom, and it's just so important, and it's such a great experience.
And the NHL is obviously a predominantly white league, but in past interviews, your mom Mercedes has said, you didn't really think about yourselves except as American boys. What has it been like being in the NHL as a Filipino American and realizing a lot of people are paying attention to your identity now?
Yeah, I think it's something that's kind of really special. I mean, you see all the players here, that, like you said, they're predominantly white, but the thing that I kind of have an advantage for is that little kids, even at games, wear wake signs saying, "Oh, I want to be like you," and see them after the game and everything. And to be one of the few people that were able to do that is definitely a huge honor. And I wouldn't say pressure, but there's a lot of eyes looking towards you to be the best professional, not only on the ice but off the ice. And that's something my mom and my dad both kind of told me when I was drafted. This is important, but and they've always had that though. They've always wanted me for me to be professional off the ice and be presenting well and be a nice person and a good role model and always maintain the foundation and the ideas that got me this far. So if I can do that and continue to do that and be a nice role model for those kids, it's definitely something that I can try to take advantage of my statue and where I am in my career.
Yeah, you're obviously opening the eyes of a lot of Filipinos who may not have paid attention to the game before. I mean, what was that like? How did you think about your Filipino American identity when you were younger? Are you a little surprised by how much it has become a part of talking about your game, basically, now that you're in the NHL?
Yeah, so it's kind of it was a weird scenario. When I'm back in California, well, there's a big Asian community. So when I was playing hockey, there were a lot of Asian hockey players. So I didn't think anything of it. I just wanted to play hockey. And when I moved to Michigan, I kind of noticed that that wasn't really the case. But I kind of understood like the logistics and everything and how big of the community there is in California compared to the rest of the country. So. But now when I got drafted, that's kind of like you said when I really found out how big of a transition it is from being a kid who just plays hockey to a role model who is not only for the NHL and playing, but off the ice being a Asian American influence towards a lot of people. So, like I said, it's humbling and it's a huge honor. And I'm not alone though. I have my brother with me, so it's nice we have that in common.
And we have an audience question from Cora Yamamoto in Hawaii. She asks, what are the explicit and implicit barriers and biases you and others have faced being a non-white hockey player, from learning, clubs, school teams, recruitment, the minors, to the NHL?
Yeah, so like I said, I was in California, so I never dealt with anything. I always had it was always predominantly a lot of Asian players, so I never dealt with that. And fortunately enough, I think the hockey community is the best, the most inclusive community there is. I never had any issues with that. My brother and my other brother never had any issues, so very lucky. And I know there's some issues with that, and of course it's not okay, and nobody condones that. But fortunate enough that from where I'm from, and I've never dealt with any type of thing, and it's great because hockey. I think hockey is one of the best. Is the best sport in the world, and all the people I respect, all the players I have a lot of respect for.
Are you hearing from a lot of other Asian Americans who maybe hadn't been tuned into hockey as little kids? You know, they're seeing it more now because you're in the spotlight.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the best part. I mean, I think not only being an Asian American, but the fact that you could be someone who grows the game of hockey is definitely a huge, tremendous honor, and what a great perk it is to be a role model for kids who, they don't really think about hockey as being a sport that Asian Americans could play, but when they see a guy playing on the Dallas Stars, playing hockey at the biggest stage, doing that, they could definitely see that and think about what options they can do and opportunities. And I do see it sometimes, whether that be a direct message, a DM on social media, or a sign during the game. We just started playing hockey because he likes you, or he looks like you and he wants to be like you. So I think those are the most touching moments, definitely, when you can influence a kid's life, maybe if he wants to go to the hockey, pursue hockey, but really just grow the game in whatever diverse section. It doesn't even have to be Asian American. It could be Hispanic or whatnot. Just anywhere. If I can grow the game, I'm sure the NHL would love that, and I'm glad that I have that special opportunity to do that.
And you talked a lot about, growing up in LA, where obviously there's a big Asian population, but then your family did move back to, where your father's from, to Michigan, obviously a little less diverse there. I mean, what was that like as a child, going from a really diverse place and then going to Michigan?
Yeah, so I don't think it was a big transition. We understood, like, I think I had a good idea when I was younger that it is kind of, it's not um, outside of California. It wasn't really common to have that big of a community. So when we moved to Michigan, it was you didn't see as many, but I think the biggest thing that we had was when we moved together as a family. So we were always so close together that we kind of blocked out a lot of the outside, things. We just kept the tight knit group, tight knit family, and that's something how my mom always wanted us to be, is so close together as a family. So when we moved from California to Michigan, we had no problem transitioning because we knew we had each other's backs, and it didn't matter whatever circumstance we were going to, because we were all so close together.
And you talked a little bit about when you finally started realizing that the NHL was something you could do. I mean, what was that like when it really started becoming, this is something that my entire career is going to be based around, and this is my dream that could actually come true?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say when I moved from California to Michigan, I was 10. I wouldn't say then that it was kind of you kind of know what you want to do. You're 10 years old. You're kind of, you don't really know what you're doing. So that's something. Like I said, my parents kind of made that decision for us because we knew we wanted to play hockey. We didn't know how far we could go. I don't even think my parents knew how far we could go. We didn't know how to get to the NHL. We don't know what you needed to do. All they knew is that we loved to play hockey. That's what we wanted to do, and we wanted to keep playing. So I think when I was probably 12, 13, playing, and you start to realize the routes and what way you get to the NHL. You start to digest the options, and when you start to see the plan and the journey and how you could achieve that goal, then you start putting your mind to it, and really digging down and going to work, and really finding those ways. And eventually, you find the process and you follow the journey and keep working hard. And I mean, there's one example of me, but also have the example of my little brother. And it's cool that we kind of have a similar story, but a couple differentials, and a little bit different. So we have two different stories towards the same goal.
How's the sibling rivalry there? Are you always keeping each other updated on each other's games and just basically talking a lot about being in the NHL?
Yeah, so unfortunately, my brother's season ended a couple months ago. He flew out of shoulder. But before that, we were always in communication when he was in the NHL. And I still talk to him all the time. We play video games together. We screw around on social media and all that stuff. So we still have that close relationship. It's something where it will never break because we've gone through so many things together. We trained over the summer together. We went through COVID together. The lockdown, so we were training together in our house together. So we had that, and he made the NHL. He played in the playoffs, before me, and then I made it, and so all these different things. So it's awesome, and I look forward to this summer. We can train together and we live together, and just do everything together. So it's not a lot of things that a lot of brothers can do. So we make it very special, and yeah, we have a lot of fun.
And in the past, you've said you see athletes and role models that are of your heritage, and you definitely believe that you can do it, that there's no barrier. Do you feel, you talked a little bit about it, but do you feel that responsibility to be a role model? And you said it wasn't quite pressure, but what does that feel like?
Yeah, no, I don't. There's definitely no pressure, but there's obviously a standard you gotta withhold. And fortunate enough for me, um, I like to think that that's what I've always been. I'm not changing myself. I'm not making myself, look what I'm not. I'm always an easygoing guy, but I always show up. I don't want to screw around, and I always have respect for everyone. Just be respectful, working hard. Always, I always like to think I'm working hard and just being a good teammate, just being good to the media, just being just a good Samaritan, good person. That's something that I've grown. I've always been like that. My parents taught me that when I was really young, so it's not like I'm changing anything. So there's no pressure on that, but definitely I have to maintain that sort of standard to try to be a good professional and role model for kids growing up and trying to show them, it's what it needs. You really, if you want to be in the NHL, you got to be a great person. So that's not even just in the NHL, but in life, you got to be a great person, hardworking, and everything. And so that's what I want to do.
And growing up, who were your role models in the game and in the sport?
Yeah, so I didn't really have a lot of role models. There was a lot of hockey, a lot of different things. Obviously, I think that my biggest role model was my dad. Forget the sport, but he really worked. He's worked his butt off to get to where he is, and he's so passionate about what he does and who he cares for. It's something that I've grown over the years in my 20s to start to realize how much he did for people, for his family and everything, and how much he cared and how much he really wants us to succeed. So, I mean, no disrespect to my mom; she's my role model too, but and I love her very much. I know, so I hope my mom doesn't get she understands. But my dad definitely, it's just something where you see my dad. I see my dad all the time, and growing up and how much work he put in for us, and my mom did the same thing too. But my dad definitely, he's my biggest role model.
And you're still in the playoffs. How is this moment right now, this experience of being there right now, to be at the top of your game, still playing right now?
Yeah, well, I mean, every game's important, so you can't take a night off, and that's what the best part is. At the beginning of the season, things you're trying to feel things out, and at the latter part of the year, every point is crucial, and we are able to do that with a full, house of fans every game. So that's the best part. We have this full support of our city behind us, and all we can do is keep pushing forward and eventually get to the playoffs. Where that's obviously the best part of hockey is getting to the playoffs. And I was able to experience that last year and to get an idea of how it is down in Dallas. And yeah, the stadium was electric and the fans were buzzing, and it's just an awesome feeling, playing the playoffs and winning games at home.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so glad we were able to talk about your amazing career. You're just at the beginning and you're going to do so much. So thank you for sharing with us on this Race in America series.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us on Race in America at Washington Post Live. Once again, I'm Nicole Dungca. I'm an investigative reporter. Please stay tuned at WashingtonPostLive.com for future programs and series. Thanks for joining us.